Hey everyone, it's Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and I'm Ethan Van Sciver, your host, artist for DC Comics and others, and the artist on this book right here, Green Lantern Rebirth, this mini-series that absolutely relaunched and catapulted the Green Lantern franchise to the top of the charts in the early 2000s. I think this was 2005, written by this man here, and that's a good reason why. I mean, pretty much anything that he writes is going to do very well with fans. He understands these characters better than almost anyone. And drawn by me, I'm Ethan Van Sciver, inked by Prentice Rollins. But also, I came back and inked some of this, and I'll show you where and why. This is issue number 6. I believe this was always going to be a 5-issue miniseries, and at some point we tacked on a 6th issue, and while we were developing this miniseries, and it seemed like from then on, most of these things were 6-issue miniseries. They fit really well into trade paperbacks in terms of page count. Now, this cover is, well, it's iconic. I mean, this might be one of the best Green Lantern covers that I ever did, and it's used everywhere. Somebody mentioned that it was the illustration that when you look at the Green Lantern Corps Wikipedia page, this comes up, and it's used in all kinds of articles and things, and I'm glad. I'm really happy with it. The colors are also really nice. Peter Steigerwald just threw in a wonderful, wonderful green kind of complexion to everything. It's pretty to look at, and I think what I was going for here, when they asked me what I wanted to do, they said, well, we want the core together. And I said, okay, I want to kind of insinuate religion is back. And that was the original idea. This ring is a faith, like the Sinestro core is a faith, fear. All of the things that would come later are ancient religions. And so this kind of faith and will is ancient. It's been around forever, and it's something that you can develop and attain growth, like almost spiritual growth through. It's a very subtle message, but this is shaped like a church, and that's kind of what I was going for here. This is the steeple, and I wanted this kind of shape that would remind you, if you blurred your eyes, of a temple or a church. And it came out pretty good. I wish Kilowog's arm wasn't so big. I should have pushed him back further. But, this V shape was what we were going for. So, successful cover. I'm happy with it. We open it up. And now, it says Prentice Rollins inked this. This doesn't look like Prentice Rollins to me. This looks like Scott Hanna inks. I could be wrong. Let me just, you know what? I'm going to skip ahead to the credits page and just see who these inkers are. Because I know it's more than just, okay, Marlo Alquiza, me, Mick Gray. So interestingly enough, Prentice Rollins didn't actually ink any of this issue, and he got a cover credit, so that's a mistake. I can just tell right away. I know different people's inks. So this is not Scott Hanna, even though Scott Hanna periodically does ink me. This is actually Mick Gray, and we pick up right where we left off with a little shot of Batman, who has just threw his batarang around Hal Jordan's fist, a way of saying, not so fast, buddy. And Hal just doesn't even look at him, doesn't acknowledge him, just burns his, batarang and bat rope to shreds. And nothing's going to stop me, Batman. We'll talk about this later. We've got this to deal with right now. What we have here is Ganthet, who's been infected by the Parallax entity. And that's dangerous because Ganthet in and of himself is extremely powerful. And then merged with Parallax, he would be nearly unstoppable. And at this point, barely even taking notice of the reassembled core. And look how wonderful it is just to see everyone back together again. Kilowog, John, Guy, who had retired into a different identity. Hal has returned from the dead. And Kilowog as well, because Kilowog, it seemed, was dead. And I'm not sure if there was ever an explanation for how he returned. Suffice it to say, rumors of his death were greatly exaggerated. But I'm not reading this as I go. I'm just recalling this. Jeff may have explained how Kilowog came back, but I don't remember. I like this a lot. All right, we're working things out. Love this shot of Guy Gardner looking up like, gee whiz, like this is okay, let's do it. And then we turn the camera angle a little bit, and because a hand has reached out and grabbed Hal Jordan's shoulder. So when we turn the camera, we get a shot of Guy Gardner reacting to the guy who's grabbing Hal Jordan's shoulder, and John as well. John gets cut into the shot here. I really like these two panels. A good succession of storytelling, and it's just, look, enough already. Boom. Now this made everyone very, very happy. Obviously, Batman has been asking for it, and this is Hal Jordan just saying, enough. In a way, Batman has represented throughout this the voice of doubt. Hal Jordan shouldn't come back. He killed all these people. He's a damaged hero. He can't ever be the way he was. And right here at the beginning of the very last issue of this miniseries, it's just Hal saying, wrong, and be quiet, and we're going forward. It doesn't matter what you say. We are proceeding with the plan as outlined by Mr. Jeff Johns, and that's what's going on here. Right at the point of impact, where there would be a kind of an explosion kind of effect. If this were an older comic, a more old-fashioned comic, you have Guy Gardner's face, which is lit up with joy, and that says it all. This guy here has famously punched Guy Gardner in the face, and people made fun of him, and he went down with one shot. And this is a pleasure for Guy, of course. And Kilowog's kind of like, Kilowog doesn't really care as much, but it's a something he wasn't expecting to happen here. People have criticized this because, if you go from this scene here to this here, it doesn't make sense that he hit him with this arm. It doesn't make sense. And that is a valid criticism. I did struggle with that because the thing is, the way it is, he's grabbing him by this shoulder. Jeff deliberately, he's very specifically asked me to have him hitting Batman with his ring hand. So how do we do that from this angle? I mean, what would actually happen is, he would have to pivot this way and then, punch. It seems more likely and natural that someone would spin around with this arm and hit him right in the face. But in this case, Hal Jordan seems to have turned this way, pivoted, and then hit him. And there you go. So it's a little bit unnatural. And if you were actually, if that panel was on this page, I'm asking. It's like I kind of end up asking the reader to forget a little bit about the sequence that we just witnessed on the page prior. It's a mistake. It's a gaffe. But at the end of the day, only a few people complained, and people like me who are going to look at this, for a long time, and who really worked hard on it, I'll end up beating myself up for that for a long time. But anyway, still it worked. Everybody loves this. Everybody posts this, reposts it. It's become kind of a meme, and that's a great thing. Batman's on the ground. Hal Jordan looking down and saying, "Let's go. We're moving on without you. We don't need you. The core is united." And of course, Guy Gardner laughs. Did you see that one punch? And that is a callback to that famous Justice League story where Batman punched Guy Gardner. So we're heading up. Look how tiny we are in comparison with the, massive Parallax Ganthet, who is growing with power, just surging with power. And, Batman is wiping it off here. He's shrugging it off. We need to regroup and take on Parallax ourselves, he says. But that's not true. And this is Green Lantern business. Even the original Green Lantern. Yeah, he's just saying, all of you, just stand down. Look how cool he looks. And this was just a great... Oh, man, while we were doing this, Pete Tomasi said to me, he said, Ethan, it's not always going to be like this. You're not always going to get to do Green Lantern Rebirth. And I said, well, why not? Why can't all comic books that we produce be as good as this? You know, what is we're saving up for this and we'll never do this again? I mean, why can't everything be as wonderful as Alan Scott standing up for the Green Lantern Corps and pushing the Justice League, the young whippersnappers, down and saying, you know, this is core business. Let Hal and the Corps handle this. You guys stand down. And we have Jade, his daughter, standing there by his side. It's very nice. We didn't see much of those characters again after that. Yeah, I haven't seen Jade in a little while. This looks like me. This looks like I inked it. I could be wrong. No, I don't know. I don't remember. Here's my lunchbox panel. This is, in other words, you know, it's like I wanted to, if there were a Green Lantern Rebirth lunchbox like there used to be in the old days, this is my cool, you know, image that would be on that lunchbox. You've got Guy Gardner, who's basically flipping us off. He's flipping off Parallax with his ring, always making some obscene gesture. John Stewart's energy pattern is becoming more and more deliberate. I'm getting more interested in defining it. What's Kyle do? Kyle is thinking like an artist. He's sketching. His movements are reacting to his body as though an artist were sketching and trying to decide where his body would go. And Hal is leading. More of the same. Here's Kilowog with concentric circles. These look great too. More siren effects. This was brand new. Nobody had done this before. So I do remember looking at Green Lantern prior to this and being so bored by it. And being like, I don't like Green Lantern. I used to say I don't like Green Lantern because I don't like space operas that aren't Star Wars. And it was just endless, like, you know, cop in space pulling over Star Trek style alien, being kind of funny, like making a school bus construct that would, I don't know, they'd pull up in a school bus and say, get on board. It's just silly. I mean, it was just dumb, and it wasn't exciting. And these characters need to be electric and alive, and they're moving at all times. And so when this started to happen, I think it really turned people on, and it turned me on. I was happy to be drawing stuff that was just this fresh and exciting, and stuff that made sense. Just visually, these characters have their own language now, and it's all brand new. So Ganthet opens his big maw, and yeah, we see that parallax symbol worked in there, and now is the time. And this right here is the 2-page spread that, I did ink this. These are my inks here because I wasn't going to ask anyone else to do this. So John Stewart comes down. This is a great pose here. I love all this all over him now. He's working. Look at him. He's putting together this gigantic kind of backhoe style clamp, and you can see every rivet. It looks like a technical drawing, and you can see it coming together. You see bits and pieces of it. This was Jeff's idea. Jeff kind of said, look, you can see the way John Stewart's constructs are put together. And boy, do I like that. I couldn't get enough of that. It took a long time, right? Like this takes a long time to draw, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. So here we have Guy Gardner with a kind of Billy Idol sneer on his face, coming forward and doing his thing, which is using a buzzsaw to cut through Parallax's armor. And Jeff said his power is like that. It's just like, sparking all the time. And so he creates a buzzsaw pattern. Now, not a big, you know what I mean? Like, again, I want to keep the constructs simple and primitive because they're thoughts and it's will put into action. It's less the emotional spectrum than the motivational spectrum. And I think Jeff started defining that stuff and using those terms kind of as just a way to describe, like a placeholder kind of terminology. But really, if you look at everything that the rings do, it's not based on emotion. It's not how you feel. It's what you're motivated to accomplish and what the motivation is. And this is just pure willpower. Sinestro collects and manipulates fear, and that is the motivation that powers his ring. Rage, avarice, compassion, love, hope. These are all motivations that make you accomplish something. And when you have a motivation to accomplish something and you feel it strongly, you feel that motivation, you can make that ring work. And that's kind of what it is. So it's more like a motivational spectrum than an emotional spectrum. And that's what we have here. These guys are motivated now to take down Parallax. This is an enormous task that normal people could never accomplish. But this is why these guys are Green Lanterns. So we get another shot of John Stewart, who has made another backhoe kind of pair of handcuffs. And again, even though it's small and John's very small, you can still see all the rivets. It's a pleasure to look at. Boy, is this good. This is a little mistake. I don't know. Kyle sketching this thing that's going to hold his mouth open and erasing it at this point here. And I'm not happy with that. He's going to draw this thing that's going to hold Parallax's mouth open so that essentially we've got his hands covered. We're distracting him with, energy beams from Kilowog, and basically Hal just wants to shoot a beam right down his throat. And then they all join in. And this is a 2-page spread that I did ink. And again, I think people like this too. I liked it. I thought it was okay. I think that you can see that it's a little bit loose, like right in here, the energy. I think I was hoping that this would all get color held out. It's color held, but it's pushed back to a brown instead of a black. I would have liked it to be green, but it's Moose Bauman. He did a great job anyway. I don't think I complained ever about anything Moose ever colored or any of his decisions. When he was on point, he was on point. He was doing great work. And here is the oath that gave so many people goosebumps when they read the reassembled Corps taking down Parallax and reciting the oath again for the first time in I don't know how many years, 10, 15 years. Very, very exciting, very, moving, I think. And at this point, I think we had won you over. If you were on the fence about the Green Lanterns and you'd been reading this whole thing, right here, you were on board with us. Beware our power. He says our power instead of my power. And then, nice shot of this is just great stuff. I forgot how good this was. All the little lanterns just fighting this monstrous, possessed Ganthet. And here's the thing, because Ganthet looks like this, you see him breaking open and spilling out the yellow light. Because this thing was able to take over a being like Ganthet, we now have to fully excuse Hal Jordan. Because Hal Jordan, say what you want, he's still human, and of course he's going to succumb to a perversion that is able to take over somebody like Ganthet. Okay? So you're excused. We understand why what happened to you happened. This is the problem, not you. And Parallax fights back, and poor Guy Gardner's electrocuted. Look, you can see this kind of just corrupt rope of yellow energy. This is the way it looks. This is the corruption of fear. It looks like I don't know what, but it's ugly. Slams Kilowog down into the ground. Everyone is beaten except for this man. Oh my God. Now this, I think, oh boy, is this cool. I don't know why I don't look at my own work more often. This is really cool. Okay, so we have little Hal Jordan here. Just throwing himself into now, just unleashing and melting away, Ganthet's face. And Parallax is now becoming more and more like Hal Jordan. Okay, so the legs, the cricket legs are gone. He actually looks like the Hal Jordan version of Parallax, except he's got the yellow tail. The symbol is in full effect here, just, fiery. Oh, I love this. I love it. And he's just saying, you'll fail, lay down and die. And here's what it is. You're weak, you're scared, give up now. Give up. And this explains right here exactly what it takes to be a Green Lantern. Give up, damn you. And Hal just says with with willpower in his eyes, literally, I don't know how. I don't know how to quit. I don't know how to give up. I don't know how to surrender. This is what it means to be a Green Lantern. And when he says that in the face of this threat, you realize that not many people have what it takes. It takes a special person to wear that ring. Well done. Just great, great work by Jeff. And here we go. I mean, literally now, great, very regal pose as he literally pierces the side of Ganthet's face with, what is this? It's an Excalibur shape. Now, I said in issue 4 that I'm thinking of the return of Hal Jordan as almost like the return of King Arthur, and these are his knights. These are the Knights of the Round Table here. So this is a sword-shaped construct almost that just pierces the side of Ganthet's face, and he encourages his boys to come back, hold the line. This is war. And yeah, they're feeling it now. Their willpower's back, and probably coaxed on by Hal. And they just take him apart, and there's poor little Ganthet inside. This was all, to me, influenced so much by that movie Poltergeist, the original movie. That wonderful white monster that's in the hallway upstairs at that one point where you just see into the afterlife, and this skull-like thing on horse hooves comes out, and its hair is kind of blowing in the wind, and it's spooky. That's what this is. And then this too, I mean, that's Ganthet is little Carol Ann, freed from the hold of demons, and just kind of not really conscious, not really himself. And it looks like they're sucking up what's left of the yellow energy into their rings and expelling it right back into the power battery where it's imprisoned. And yeah, and Jeff said, okay, so we're going to have new Guardians, and this time they're going to be some females. We're going to put some females into the group. Ordinarily, they were all men that all look like this. They all had the same Oompa Loompa look, but we have 2 women here, and one of them, I guess, is Sade. I don't know which one, and I don't even know if this is the right number of Guardians. I just drew a bunch of Guardians. And again, influenced by Poltergeist. Ganthet lying in the ground covered in gook, essentially just, unconscious and not aware of what's going on around him. Yeah. And it's like this kind of presages the Black Lantern symbol. So, yeah, they come and they try to save him, and he's okay. He said, you have all done well. And he goes away. He's, what is he going to accept help from the Corps now? He's a Guardian. And I love this. I love Guy Gardner kissing his ring. I thought you didn't want to be a Lantern anymore. I lied. Great Guy Gardner moment there. And, all right, now, Hal, this is what you got to deal with, because you've still got some people who want to know exactly what's up and what this all means. This is good, too. Did I ink this? I think I inked this. Yeah, we've got the moon right here casting a nice shadow against Hal Jordan's face here. So the moon, the moon's here, Hal's right here, so it's nice, casting a nice shadow. Batman, statted panel here. Everyone else in silhouettes. It's important that we see who they are up here. We establish them. These are the characters that are here, the superheroes that are witnessing this, and then put them in shadow. Batman is slightly out of shadow because he is going to speak. We don't want to see any of their faces at this point. This is between these 2 men. This is the man who's been redeemed. This is the final voice of doubt. Okay? Do you expect me to believe this? And that you were influenced, possessed? Is that what Parallax was, an outside force? And Hal just says, I don't expect you to believe anything, and honestly, I don't care. And again, every time Hal speaks in this book like this, to this man, the voice of doubt, that's Jeff Johns talking to people who will never accept Hal Jordan coming back. So, if you will never accept Hal Jordan returning and being a Green Lantern, fine, whatever. We don't care. This book is for everyone else. It's kind of defensive, but it turns out that there weren't too many people who did have a problem with this. Yeah, so you're back, and Hal's like, is that a problem? I mean, not right now, I suppose. Okay, so there you go. I suppose this universe needs a little more light anyway, says Batman as he drifts off into darkness. He's right, isn't he? Yeah, he usually is. Not this time, though. Oh yeah, so here we have Belle Reve Prison. Now this is a better shot of my redesign of Hector Hammond. Just somebody whose skull has grown and his anatomy is struggling to keep up with it. Yeah, drooling all the time. I like the little part in between his teeth. I love that about him. He's a real person. Like you've seen people that look like him. I mean, not with a head that's 3 times the size of their body, but I don't know. I've seen men who look like him, and I don't know. I like him. Here we are back at Ferris Air Force Base, and Carol is going to reopen it with these beautiful planes that suddenly were repaired by Hal. And at this point, I'm just so into this. I mean, I know these characters like the back of my hand. Drawing them is extremely comfortable. Back down to the basement. I love Black Hand's hand in a dustpan. That might be my favorite feature of this whole entire issue. You gotta clean up. You gotta stay neat and tidy. In issue 1, Spectre burned off Black Hand's hand, and it fell to the floor and crematory remains and bone, and that's where it stayed. But you gotta sweep it up. So that makes me laugh. That was for me. Poor Green Arrow just busted up. Wondering what Hal's gonna do next. And fortunately, his buddy Green Arrow, God bless him, he saved the power battery. So Hal's got all of his stuff back. He's got his original ring. He's got this power battery. And, great ending. Green Arrow's like, I still can't remember that damn oath. Look at the fist getting ready to... Oh, I love it. It's goosebumps. Look at that. And then, boom. I'll never forget it. Never forget the oath. Sinestro said, you took that oath too seriously. Oh, I don't know. It's his religion. Okay? It's his moral center. It's what guides his life. And it's the commitment he made to this intergalactic universal police force. And this is just wonderful. I drew this effortlessly, and it looks fantastic. I saw it again the other day. Someone posted it somewhere, and I was just like, yeah, that worked out great. I love it. Love the angle here. And this is the end. Brightest day. Jeff Johns, me, a couple inkers besides me, and just trying to get this book done and off to the printer. And I think we did a good job. Now, so here we go. Here's what's next. Green Lantern #1. So sometime around issue #4, I found out that the relaunch was going forward, and it was always going to go forward with Carlos Pacheco drawing it, and that really kind of hurt my feelings because I was like, wait a second, I just did all this setup work and I don't get to relaunch the book? Why wouldn't you put me on the book? Why would you make me do this and then not let me relaunch the new series? We've got a hit. Why would you try someone else? And on top of that, people ask me a lot, like, what made you change the Green Lantern costume, Hal Jordan's costume? Well, I didn't. Carlos did. I was shown a drawing of Hal Jordan with the new cut to his suit. And I had been drawing him up to this point. I think I had drawn a couple pages, but I drew him the normal way, where he had kind of, well, I just said it looks like he had one of those like onesies that came unsnapped. I was like, wait a second, how come it's not covering his crotch anymore? He's come unsnapped. And now it looks normal to me. It looks great. It's a Spider-Man cut, essentially, of the Green Lantern uniform. And it's just fine. So what did they do? I mean, Green Lantern #1, Jeff wrote, I don't know if he added this or if it was always meant to be, but Jeff did write 4 or 5 pages of an intro for me to draw for this. And it was nice. I think it was a way of saying, look, Green Lantern #1 is going to sell an awful lot, so you should get a taste of it. thanks. I appreciate it. I would have really liked to have just drawn the book for the next 4 issues, and I think I could have, and stayed on. But what actually ended up happening was Carlos drew, I don't know, 1 through 3. I showed up for issue 4 and 5. I don't remember how it went, but basically Carlos didn't stay very long. I mean, he just wasn't. He's a great artist. He wasn't the right fit for this book. And then Ivan Rice came on, and Ivan definitely was the right fit for the book. And he took over the book after I'd moved on to Superman and Batman. But I did get to do a few more issues with Jeff, and speak to him the whole time. I was fascinated by Sinestro, and spent a lot of time talking to him and asking him questions. I was just like, well, you know what? I'm going to save that for the Sinestro Corps commentary, which we'll be doing next, I think. And that's a whole other story that'll be fun to talk about as well. But here it is. I mean, Green Lantern Rebirth number 6. The end of, I think, a mini-series, now a trade paperback graphic novel, that's going to live forever. It's really, really good, and it was so fun revisiting it with you, and talking about what I was going through, what I was feeling, and my ideas when I was drawing this. I am blessed, uniquely blessed, I think, to have been the guy who has drawn what, in my opinion, up till now, okay, have been the most memorable and the best projects written by Jeff Johns, who is might be the biggest DC writer of all time. And my name is attached to his indelibly, with some of the best things that he ever wrote and some of the best things that I ever drew. So that is my honor. I wear that on my sleeve, and I don't mind telling you, it's been really, really, really good for my career. So I every now and then I'll just tell him thank you for changing my life, which he did do, because before this, before we really clicked together as a team, there was the whole Marvel Comics New X-Men debacle, which could have discouraged me forever. So I am, this is kind of another little love letter to Jeff Johns. Thank you. Everything that my career has been, and all of the things that I've drawn and been fortunate enough to have under my belt, in my archive, are almost all thanks to this man. So once again, thank you. And thank all of you too. All of you. I'm pointing to you with 10 fingers. Thank you, all of you, for always supporting my work. I appreciate it. And this is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. This was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Please subscribe. Please hit that bell. And we will do, I think, Sinestro Corps War, the special. We'll do that one next, okay? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.